In this movie, we will discuss the use of list boxes and combo boxes. Oftentimes, you will want the user to select from a list of items. You can use the list box control or the combo box control to display the list on a form. You may choose to add items to a list during design time, during runtime, or perhaps a combination of both. Several styles of lists of boxes are available, and we will look at some examples. The style you use is determined by the design and space considerations, as well as by whether you wish to allow the users to add items to the list. First, there are some common themes among the list box and combo box control. Both controls will allow users to select items from the list. As you will see, there are common properties that are shared by both list box and combo box controls. They both operate in a similar way. The key difference is that a combo box includes a built-in text box. Hence, this is the reason for the name combo box. In fact, a combo box is a combination of a text box and a list box. One nice feature is that the scroll bar is automatically added as needed. That is, when you draw a list box or combo box on the form, you need not be concerned about the size or if the items in the list become larger than the size of the container, because Visual Studio will automatically add and create functionality to the scroll bar to allow the user to automatically scroll through a list which is larger than the one first designed. There are some issues to consider whether to use a list box or a combo box. One is, how much space do you wish to take up on the form? As you will see, a list box occupies a certain amount of space that is just like any other control on the form, where a combo box has a drop-down feature which allows it to become more expandable and take up less space on the form initially. You also want to consider, do I want to restrict the user to selecting from the current list? Or do you want to allow the user to actually add new items to the list? List boxes and combo boxes are different in several ways. At design time, Visual Basic will display the name property for the list boxes. Visual Basic displays the text property for combo boxes at design time. So working with these controls at design time is somewhat confusing because you see the name property for list boxes, but yet you see the text property for the combo boxes. But after working with these controls briefly, you will overcome this confusion, I'm sure. Also, the text property of a combo box can be set at design time, whereas the text property for a list box can only be set during runtime, that is, by the user. I will now launch Visual Basic and provide some examples of list boxes and combo boxes. Once in the Visual Studio environment, you will want to open in the toolbox the Common Controls group, where you will see a list box control item that can be clicked and added to the form, just like you would any other control. And there's also a combo box control that you can click and drag on as well. As you notice, immediately the differences are that the list box control shows you the property listbox1, which is also the name of the list box by default, whereas you do not see this in the text property for the combo box. By default, the name for the listbox1 is listbox, but of course, like any other control, you could go to the name property and create a new name for the list box, such as names listbox. Notice that when I do that, that name does appear in the text part of the list box, but the text property itself is not visible in the text property. That is because the text will come from something called the items collection that will be discussed in another movie. For the combo box, I can rename the combo box, which is by default called Combo Box 1, and I can rename that to, again, I could call this Address Combo Box, for example. But again, the difference is you do not see this name appear on the form at design time. Don't be concerned about this initially, because when the project is running, all this will change anyway. But again, the key difference between the list box and the combo box is that the combo box has the ability to allow the user to add items through the text portion of its combo box. It also has a drop-down box, where the list box is just that, it's a list. But as items are added to the list, you'll see that Visual Studio gives you the ability to scroll through the list very easily. In a separate movie, we will look at properties that are associated with the list and actually populate the list themselves.